Welcome to my channel FemVision. I never thought a Saturday could turn into a day that would completely rewrite my reality. I woke up expecting nothing more than cereal, some lazy scrolling on my phone and maybe a call from a friend. My brother Jake had been acting weird all week, but I chalked it up to school stress or a new hobby. I didn't even think twice when I noticed him wandering into the bathroom hours later, humming a tune I'd never heard. It wasn't until I walked past the mirror in the hallway that my brain officially short-circuited. Standing there brushing his hair in a way that seemed too deliberate was Jake, but not Jake. I blinked twice, rubbed my eyes and looked again. She was my twin. Every facial feature mirrored mine with an eerie precision. His jawline softened, his cheekbones became more delicate and his lips, oh God, his lips had this natural fullness I'd never noticed before. His long hair flowed past his shoulders, catching the light like it was made for him, or for me. Jake, what the hell? I said, my voice trembling between fear and disbelief. He turned slowly, eyes wide, cheeks flushed. I don't know. I didn't do anything. His voice, now higher and more melodic, sounded almost like mine if I had a chance to magically transform overnight. I laughed nervously, thinking maybe I was dreaming. Maybe I had just had too much caffeine. But no. My reflection confirmed it. The brother I had grown up with, my companion through childhood fights, video game marathons and late-night conversations, had been replaced with someone me. Are you joking? I asked, stepping closer, unsure if I should touch him or just back away. My brain was screaming, this isn't real. This can't be real. I swear. I don't know how it happened. He twirled awkwardly in front of the mirror, watching the dress-like softness of his shoulders and the delicate curve of his hips. He, or maybe it was she now, looked like he'd been plucked from a dream where I was the original and he was a perfect copy except slightly softer, more feminine. I stumbled backward. This is insane. He, or I, looked at me with a mixture of panic and awe. I didn't even choose this. I was just sitting here and then it changed. I shook my head, heart pounding. Changed? How do you just change? My mind raced, trying to grasp the impossible reality before me. My twin brother, someone I had known literally my entire life, was now my twin in every physical way, down to expressions, gestures, and even subtle postures. And the weirdest part? He didn't even seem to mind. Or maybe he couldn't. The first challenge was language. How do you even begin to talk to someone who looks exactly like you, but is still your brother? Jake, are you okay? I asked cautiously. He blinked rapidly, glancing down at his hands, which were slender, delicate, and unmistakably feminine. I think so. It's weird. I feel different. I feel like me but also like you. That's when the creeping realization hit me. The world outside would notice. Neighbors, friends, schoolmates, family, they would see two identical people where there was supposed to be one. And if they ever knew the truth. I swallowed hard, feeling panic coil in my stomach. But even as fear surged, a strange fascination bubbled up. It was mesmerizing to see someone imitate every detail of me naturally, unconsciously, perfectly. Every gesture, every tilt of the head, every smile, uncannily precise. Show me, I said finally, voice shaking with curiosity and disbelief. I need to see everything, how your hair falls, how your lips move, how you stand. I need to understand. He complied hesitantly, spinning in front of the mirror again, mimicking my usual poses, my subtle expressions, the way I ran my hands through my hair absent-mindedly. My reflection doubled, almost mocking me with the perfection of it. And yet, part of me couldn't stop staring. How is this even possible? I whispered, leaning closer to inspect the small details. Her face mirrored mine perfectly, but the softer cheeks and longer lashes added a surreal beauty I hadn't expected. I reached out cautiously, almost afraid to touch him, and brushed a strand of hair behind his ear. His eyes met mine in the mirror, wide, startled, and anxious. I don't know. I just want this to stop, or maybe not. I don't know what to feel. And that's when I realized something terrifying and thrilling. The person in front of me wasn't just my brother. He was an entirely new version of me, someone I could compare myself to, someone who could reflect everything I had never admitted about my own identity. The day blurred into a series of experiments, tests, and awkward interactions. I watched as he, or she, walked around the house trying to mimic my casual gestures, practicing the melodic tone of my voice. Every step, every word, every small action reinforced the impossible. My brother was no longer himself. He was me, but also not me. By evening we were both exhausted. Mirrors surrounded the room, reflecting our double identities, each angle revealing nuances I had never considered. I could see the subtle panic in his expression, the slight hesitation in his movements, and yet the undeniable thrill of transformation that even I couldn't deny. I laughed nervously, trying to mask the overwhelming emotions: fear, excitement, curiosity, and a creeping sense of loss. Jake, we need to figure out how to deal with this. Tomorrow, the world is going to notice. He nodded silently, eyes flicking to the mirror. I think I'm ready. Or maybe not. But I want to see where this goes. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, mind racing. I had never imagined my life could pivot so drastically in a single day. My brother, my twin in every way, now mirrored my every move, my every gesture, my every expression. And the world outside, completely unprepared for the revelation that two identical people were walking among them. The questions gnawed at me. How did this happen? How could we reverse it? Should we even try? And most importantly, who were we now really? I didn't have answers. Only anticipation, fear, and a strange, growing excitement that this was only the beginning of something entirely impossible and intoxicating. I woke up the next morning with a pit in my stomach that refused to settle. Sleep hadn't helped. My mind kept replaying the previous day's impossible revelation. Jake, my brother, my partner in crime since childhood, was now my twin in every physical and behavioral way. And that meant one terrifying, thrilling, unavoidable truth. The world outside was about to notice. Breakfast was the first test. Mom wandered into the kitchen, humming softly as she reached for the coffee. Her eyes widened when she saw both of us standing there. Jake, or maybe I should start calling him her, stood exactly like me, gesturing with the same hand movements I always made, tilting the head just like I did when I laughed at something silly. Boys. Mom said hesitantly, eyebrows furrowed. What's going on? I froze. How do you explain this to a parent? My mind scrambled for words, but Jake stepped forward, voice melodic and high, and said, "It's complicated, Mom. We kind of look the same now." Mom blinked, confused. Then her gaze darted between us again. The same? How the same? I swallowed, trying to force calm. We kind of switched, or something happened overnight. It's hard to explain. Just look at us. Her eyes went wide and I could feel my stomach knot. "Oh, my God," she whispered, covering her mouth. The whispers of disbelief weren't just for me. They seemed to vibrate through the walls, bouncing between every reflection, every movement. Even the cat paused mid-step, tail flicking nervously. It was a strange, surreal moment. The world already sensing the impossibility of what had happened. After breakfast we had to leave for errands. Walking down the street I noticed the double takes immediately. People stopped mid-step, eyebrows raised, mouths slightly open. A woman with her toddler whispered loudly enough for both of us to hear, "Is that the same person twice?" Jake glanced at me, lips pressed tightly together, eyes wide with panic. I could see him trying to match my expressions, my gestures, even my posture, hoping people wouldn't notice. But they did. Oh, they definitely noticed. By the time we entered a small convenience store, a small crowd had started forming inside, curiosity buzzing in the air. Friends we had run into outside froze mid-sentence, eyes darting back and forth between us. Whispers floated, "Is that twins? Or what?" Jake's hand trembled as he reached for a bottle of water, his fingers slightly brushing mine when I adjusted the sleeve of my shirt to demonstrate natural motion. "Just play it cool," I whispered. His nod was almost imperceptible, but his lips twitched with a nervous smile. Every small gesture, every slight hesitation, was like a test of survival in a world that suddenly didn't make sense. Back home the chaos didn't stop. My younger cousins were supposed to come over for a sleepover, and I nearly panicked at the thought of them walking into our double existence. Of course they arrived, squealing about video games and snacks, and froze immediately when they saw both of us. "Oh wow, you look exactly alike," my cousin Lily exclaimed, pointing back and forth between us. "Are you clones?" Jake laughed nervously, a high melodic sound identical to mine. "Not clones, just, twins now?" Even as we laughed, I felt the tension simmer beneath the surface. This wasn't just about fun. It was about survival, perception, and navigating a world that could never understand what had happened to us. School friends called, and that opened a whole new set of complications. Text messages flooded my phone asking about twins. Are you joking? Or, you guys look exactly the same, how is this real? Every notification made my pulse race. The phone buzzed again. OMG, is this real? I need proof. We started experimenting subtly, trying to distinguish ourselves in ways small enough to avoid suspicion but clear enough to maintain sanity. I taught Jake how to adjust his stance slightly, hold his arms differently, even tilt his head just a fraction differently when speaking. Every small change made him feel more like himself and less like a perfect copy, but only slightly. By afternoon, the chaos escalated. Neighbors wandered onto the street, whispers floating between open windows. Friends peeked through fences, trying to reconcile the impossible reality. Social media posts began circulating, photos of both of us taken by passerby, with captions like "double trouble" or "are they the same person?" Jake and I stayed close, side by side, practicing small gestures, mirroring each other and making tiny adjustments to avoid complete recognition. But even then, every glance, every comment, every stunned reaction reminded us that life had irrevocably changed. By evening we returned home, exhausted but exhilarated. The house was quiet, but the reflection in every mirror screamed possibility and tension. Two identical people, me and my twin, sharing a space that now felt crowded with identity, confusion, and unspoken questions. We sat on the couch, silently processing the day. The panic hadn't gone away, but it had transformed into something more complicated. A mix of thrill, curiosity, and the undeniable bond of shared transformation. I looked at Jake and whispered, "Tomorrow we need a plan. We can't just keep pretending." He nodded, eyes fixed on the reflection in the window, hair falling perfectly in front of his shoulders. "I know, but it's kind of exciting too, right?" I laughed softly, realizing that amid the chaos, a strange thrill had seeped into my veins. Life as I knew it had been ripped apart, twisted into something surreal, and terrifyingly exhilarating. And deep down I knew this was only the beginning. After the chaos of the day we finally had the house to ourselves. For the first time since Jake's transformation, the silence felt almost sacred. A chance to explore, experiment, and understand this impossible reality without judgment or prying eyes. "Okay," I said, leaning against the wall, arms crossed. "We need to figure out what this even means, and how to handle it. Privately. Step by step." Jake nodded, eyes wide but filled with curiosity. "Yeah, but where do we even start?" I gestured to the mirrors lining my bedroom walls. "Mirrors. Clothes. Makeup. Everything. This is our playground now." We began with the mirrors. Standing side by side, I watched him mimic my every movement. He raised an eyebrow, tilted his head, ran a hand through his hair, all instinctively mirroring me. I pointed out subtle differences, showing him how to adjust his stance, shift his weight, or move his hands naturally. It was surreal, seeing someone else, my twin brother, become a perfect copy of me in real time. Then came clothes. We rifled through my wardrobe, selecting skirts, blouses, sweaters, and accessories. I demonstrated each outfit's style, teaching Jake how to combine colors, patterns, and textures to create the same casual yet confident aesthetic I had mastered over the years. He tried on pieces slowly, fidgeting at first, but gradually gaining comfort as he saw the reflection in the mirror. "Wow," he murmured, twirling in front of the full-length mirror. I actually like this. I feel different, but good." I smiled, noticing how natural the confidence seemed to seep into him, even in the unfamiliar body. "Exactly. It's all about owning it. The way you stand, the way you move, the way you hold yourself. It's confidence, not just clothes." Next came makeup, a challenge for both of us. I taught him how to apply foundation, blush, eyeliner, and lipstick, explaining how each step subtly altered the perception of the face. His hands shook slightly at first, unsure of the motions, but by the third attempt he was steady, methodical, and surprisingly adept. "You look amazing," I said, feeling a mix of awe and disorientation. Seeing Jake in full makeup, mirroring my features perfectly, was simultaneously thrilling and eerie. It was like looking into a mirror where I had a twin who was simultaneously me and not me. We experimented with voice next. I had him read lines aloud, mimicking my tone, pitch, and inflection. At first it sounded forced and awkward, but with practice the melodic flow came naturally. We laughed at mispronunciations, stumbled over syllables, and perfected subtle pauses, making our voices nearly indistinguishable. By the afternoon, our private experiments had evolved into something more playful. We practiced gestures, tilts, smiles, and casual movements as if performing a silent dance in front of the mirrors. Every flick of the hair, every laugh, every playful glance became a deliberate test of identity. Could we fool the world? Could we fully inhabit this new reality without faltering? Jake tried sitting the way I do, crossing legs at the knee, leaning slightly forward, tilting his head when laughing. Each time he succeeded, a wave of shared exhilaration swept over us. We weren't just siblings now. We were twins in every conceivable way, learning and adapting together. The most unexpected discovery came with subtle expressions. A small smirk, a tilt of the head, the way our eyes crinkled when smiling. These tiny details held immense power. They could make us appear confident, approachable, playful, or mysterious. Teaching Jake these microgestures became a game, one that blurred the lines between imitation and individuality. As the evening approached, we stepped outside for a brief experiment in the yard. Even in the quiet street, our mirrored movements drew attention. Neighbors passing by paused, stared, then whispered, unsure whether to comment. The thrill of being observed without fully exposing ourselves gave a rush neither of us expected. Returning inside, we collapsed onto the couch, exhausted but exhilarated. I never imagined this would feel right, Jake admitted softly, brushing a strand of hair from his face. I mean, it's weird, but it's fun. Empowering even. I nodded, feeling the same rush. Exactly. This is about more than just looking the same. It's about understanding identity, confidence, and ourselves. We spent the rest of the night exploring small details. Gestures, laughs, the way our eyes met mirrors, practicing subtle nuances that would make us indistinguishable to outsiders while maintaining our own awareness internally. By the time we went to bed, a strange sense of satisfaction had settled over us. The day had started with chaos, but it ended with understanding, experimentation, and the realization that this new reality, impossible as it seemed, could be mastered. And deep down I knew the real test was yet to come. Outside our walls, in the real world, we would face recognition, judgment, and exposure. But tonight, in our private sanctuary of mirrors and clothes, we had control. For the first time, the transformation felt like an adventure, a challenge we could meet together. The morning sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting soft streaks across the living room. Jake and I exchanged nervous glances, both of us acutely aware that today would mark the first real test of our twin reality. Our private experiments had given us confidence, but stepping outside the safe confines of home was an entirely different challenge. I adjusted my skirt, smoothing the fabric and checking my reflection one last time. Jake mirrored every move, his eyes tracking mine as if I were a guide through this strange new world. The closer we got to leaving the house, the faster my heartbeat seemed to pound. "Ready?" I asked quietly, voice steady despite the tremor in my stomach. Jake nodded, tucking a strand of hair behind his ear. "As ready as I'll ever be." We stepped out onto the street together, a pair of perfect twins in synchronized motion. Immediately the reactions began. Neighbors who had never paid much attention to us paused, squinting, mouths slightly agape. A jogger slowed mid-stride, doing a double take. Even the dog in the yard barked, tilting its head in confusion. "Whoa," Jake muttered under his breath, eyes wide. "Everyone's noticing." I swallowed, feeling a mixture of anxiety and exhilaration. Good. Let's see how long it takes them to realize we're identical. As we walked down the familiar neighborhood streets, whispers floated around us. Some people pointed discreetly, exchanging puzzled glances. "Are they twins?" one passerby asked. Another shook her head, muttering, "I don't know, it's uncanny." The thrill of being observed, without yet being fully recognized, was intoxicating. I caught Jake glancing at me nervously and I gave him a reassuring nod. Small movements, subtle shifts in posture and tiny differences in gestures helped maintain a delicate balance between perfect synchronization and personal control. Our first encounter came sooner than expected. A group of school friends were hanging outside a corner store, laughing and talking. As soon as they saw us, the noise stopped abruptly, replaced by stunned silence. Wait a second, one of them stammered. Is that both of you? Jake froze beside me, mirroring my posture perfectly while I forced a casual smile. Hey, just out for a walk, I said lightly, trying to sound natural. My heart pounded in my chest. Out for a walk, together, looking exactly alike, another friend whispered, eyebrows furrowed. We laughed softly, the sound melodic and unnervingly identical. Yeah, crazy, right? I said, letting my confidence radiate outward. Jake followed my lead, matching every nuance of tone, gesture, and expression. The friends exchanged glances, clearly trying to reconcile what they were seeing. Every second felt like a test. How long could we maintain the illusion without cracking? Could anyone tell who the original was? Did it even matter anymore? Next, we ventured into a nearby cafe. The barista froze mid-motion, eyes flicking between us with disbelief. Can I help you both? She asked, voice wavering slightly. Jake stepped forward with a nervous smile, mirroring mine perfectly. Just coffee, please. 2 lattes, he said, his voice melodic, playful, and eerily similar to mine. The barista nodded, fumbling slightly as she prepared the drinks. Whispers began circulating as people pulled out their phones to snap discreet photos. Some whispered questions like, are they the same person? Is this a trick? I glanced at Jake and whispered, stay calm. Confidence is key. He nodded, tucking his hands behind his back. Right. Confidence. By the time we left the cafe, the whispers had turned into stares. People on the street were now openly observing us, pointing and muttering. It was thrilling and terrifying in equal measure. Every glance, every subtle recognition, was a reminder that the world wasn't ready for our reality, but we could play the game. We experimented deliberately, testing different gestures, adjusting our voices and practicing synchronized movements. Every step, every laugh, every casual interaction was a rehearsal in identity. Could we fool strangers? Could we survive this new reality with poise and charm? The day continued with encounters at the park, a bookstore, and even a small grocery store. Everywhere we went, reactions ranged from disbelief to admiration, curiosity to mild panic. Some people whispered directly to each other, trying to reconcile the impossible truth that 2 identical people were existing in the same space. I noticed a strange shift in myself as the day progressed. The fear from earlier had begun to transform into something more empowering. Each successful interaction, each subtle trick that kept our twin illusion intact, gave me a sense of mastery and confidence I had never felt before. Jake mirrored this transformation perfectly, growing bolder with each step. By evening we returned home, exhausted but exhilarated. The reflections in the mirrors now showed not just 2 identical faces, but a sense of purpose, confidence, and control that had emerged from our experiments. We had tested the limits of public perception, pushed the boundaries of identity, and come out stronger on the other side. Sitting on the couch, I glanced at Jake and whispered, today, we survived. And more than that, we thrived. He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his face. Yeah, I feel powerful. Like, nothing can shake us. The reality of our twin transformation was still overwhelming, but we had learned something crucial. Confidence, preparation, and subtle mastery of gestures, expressions, and social cues could allow us to navigate a world unprepared for our reality. And deep down, I knew the next challenge would be even bigger. Deeper immersion, more complex social interactions, and perhaps the ultimate test of identity and self-acceptance. But for now, we had taken the first step into a world that had once seemed impossible, and we had conquered it together. The sun had just begun its slow descent, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose, when Jake and I finally found a quiet moment alone. The events of the past days, the impossible transformation, the public reactions, the experiments, and the chaos, had left us exhausted yet profoundly changed. We sat side by side on the couch, our reflections glinting in the mirrors that now seemed less like tools for scrutiny and more like reminders of how far we had come. I glanced at Jake, seeing him, her, in the soft glow of evening light. Every feature, every gesture, every curve mirrored mine perfectly, yet there was an individuality that had emerged through practice, adaptation, and courage. I never thought, well, this way, Jake whispered, voice melodic but steady. I was scared at first. Terrified. But no. I feel like myself. And like you, at the same time. I nodded slowly, letting the weight of his words settle. Yet me too. It's strange. Impossible. But I feel complete in a way I never imagined. We're twins. Not just in looks but in everything. And that feels powerful. We shared a quiet laugh, the tension of the past days dissolving into a shared sense of understanding. The mirror reflected not just our faces but our journey, the chaos, the discovery, the experimentation, and now the acceptance. That evening we took the final step of our public exploration, a walk through the local park at dusk. This wasn't just a casual stroll, it was a declaration of confidence. The golden light bathed the paths in warmth as we moved together, synchronized yet subtly individual, testing the boundaries of perception one last time. People we had seen before paused, eyes widening, whispers floating on the breeze. But this time the reactions were different. There was curiosity, yes, but also admiration. The confidence radiating from us was palpable. We weren't just surviving their scrutiny, we were thriving under it. I never imagined this could feel natural, Jake said softly, glancing at me. Like, we belong here. Like this is who we are now. I smiled, the warmth of shared understanding filling my chest. Exactly. We've been given something impossible. Something that challenges perception, identity, and self. And we've mastered it. Together. We stopped near a fountain, the water sparkling in the twilight. I took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill my lungs. I think it's time we fully embrace this. No hiding, no hesitation. We are this. And that's enough. He nodded, eyes glimmering with both relief and excitement. Is fully. Totally. Is together. We practiced small gestures one last time, adjusting posture, expressions, and tone. Every movement felt deliberate, empowered, and natural. We had transformed not just physically but emotionally, mentally, and socially. The twin reality was no longer a challenge. It was an identity we could inhabit fully and confidently. Returning home, we shared a quiet dinner with our parents, who had gradually come to accept the impossible. Their initial shock had softened into awe and cautious support. Mom reached across the table, squeezing both our hands. I don't fully understand it, but I see you. And I accept you. Both of you. Together. Her words brought tears to my eyes. The acceptance we had longed for, not just from strangers but from family, was finally here. It wasn't just about appearances or identity. It was about love, recognition, and understanding. Later that night, we returned to our private sanctuary of mirrors and clothes. But this time the mirrors felt different. They weren't tools for experimentation or reflection. They were symbols of our journey, our growth, and our empowerment. Jake tried on a favorite blouse, adjusting it with practiced precision. I mirrored him, and for the first time, I felt a sense of harmony that went beyond surface-level imitation. I feel complete, Jake said softly, spinning gently in front of the mirror. Like, I found a part of me I didn't know existed. And, like you found a part of yourself too. I nodded, feeling the same truth resonate within me. Exactly. We faced chaos, fear, curiosity, and uncertainty. But now we're confident. We're empowered. And we're together. The days that followed brought a sense of balance we hadn't anticipated. Our twin identity became a natural part of our lives, not something to hide or be afraid of. We navigated school, friends, and social interactions with a newfound mastery, blending confidence, charm, and subtle individuality. Evenings were spent experimenting with fashion, makeup, and gestures, not out of necessity but for enjoyment. We shared tips, tried new styles, and explored the boundaries of identity in ways that were playful, creative, and deeply bonding. One night, as we sat side by side in front of the mirror, Jake whispered, "I never imagined life could be this strange, impossible, and yet perfect." I smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. Perfect, in its own chaotic, unpredictable way. We've turned something terrifying into something empowering. And that is rare. That is special. We looked at each other, reflections merging in the mirror, a symbol of twin perfection, harmony, and acceptance. The journey that had started with panic, disbelief, and chaos had culminated in understanding, mastery, and connection. We weren't just surviving this impossible reality anymore. We were thriving. And in that moment I realized something profound. Transformation isn't just about appearance. It's about acceptance, courage, growth, and the willingness to embrace the impossible. Jake and I had done that together. We had turned fear into empowerment, chaos into mastery, and reflection into self-discovery. As we turned off the lights and prepared for bed, I felt a deep, unshakable sense of peace. The world outside might never fully understand what had happened, but that didn't matter anymore. We had accepted ourselves, accepted each other, and embraced a reality that was impossible yet beautiful. And in the quiet of that night I whispered softly, "We did it. Together. Fully. Completely." Jake smiled, his eyes reflecting the same pride and contentment I felt. Together, always. For the first time since the transformation I felt whole, not just as myself but as part of a unique bond that transcended fear, confusion, and impossibility. Our journey wasn't over, but we had mastered the first chapter. Acceptance, empowerment, and twin harmony. The reflection in the mirror glimmered softly, showing not just two faces, but two hearts, two minds, and two identities united in a perfect, unbreakable connection. And for the first time I truly believed that no matter what challenges came next, Jake and I, twins in every way, could face them together, empowered, confident, and unafraid.